Hello, ethicists. We thought it would be important to re-articulate the information that's in the project details just in another format. One, because people learn different ways, and two, just to reiterate the importance of these project details. I thought it might be fun to gamify it a bit and sort of frame ethics unit as a game, all right? Of course, there are stakes to the game, and those are important to point out. And let's do that first before we get into the description and the objectives of the game, the different components and the places this game will take us. All right, well, what's at stake? Ethics unit, as has been indicated to you, is the month of January and might also take up a portion of the first week of February. We'll see how things go. So it's a pretty major component, and we're seeing you 4 days a week rather than traditionally I might see you 2 and your English teachers might see you 2. So it's weighty, right? The ethics unit will make up 30% of both of your history and English grades. So whatever your grade is for the ethics unit, I will take it. Sarah, Hannah, Allison will take it and import that grade into their book as well. So ethics unit counts for both history and English, and it is 30% of your grade. So that means the remaining work that you've done in English or history, that stuff will be 70%. And 30% will be ethics. All right, so I guess that's what's at stake. If we break down the grade also in the ethics unit, we've really broken it down into all of our P's. So your practice and preparation will make up 30% of the total of your ethics grade. These are things like the readings, the reading responses you're doing for the frameworks, for instance, these smaller activities. 70% of your grade, so a much larger portion of your grade, will come from major assessments. There are 2 major assessments. The first is a framework analysis, and that will happen at the end of the second week, beginning of the third week. And the second major assessment is your final ethical debate performance. Okay, so there are 2 in this ethical debate components has some subcomponents as well. For instance, as you do research, you'll do an annotated bib, and we'll give you more of a breakdown of those numbers later on. But for now, just know that 70% of your grade is related to these larger assessments, okay? And there are 2 of them. So that's what's at stake. Now let's talk about the description of this game and the objectives of the game. All right, the description. The ethics unit gives 9th graders the opportunity to grapple with complicated ethical issues that they will be confronted with as they continue to mature into adults. The course's goal is not to convince anyone of a quote-unquote proper stance on any issue, but rather to encourage students to engage in reasoned inquiry into ethical philosophy and how different ethical frameworks yield the influence, positions, and actions people take. Furthermore, we will investigate the complicated nature of various dilemmas and the pressures that affect ethical decisions, as well as the translation of individual ethical judgments into individual and collective action. We will tackle contemporary issues in hopes of exposing the gravity of choices we make, examining the reason, values, and assumptions behind our choices, and facing the reality that one's perspective might not be the only valid one. having students explore complicated issues and formulate their own opinions, while also being understanding of other people's potentially opposing views, is one of the major goals of this course. While many of the ethical issues we will investigate are controversial, it is paramount that the classroom be used to discuss ideas and not to criticize the holder of any certain position. Thus, we should foster a safe, open, and accepting environment where ideas and beliefs can be expressed without personal scrutiny or offense. The objectives. Students will learn ethical frameworks through which to view, discuss, and analyze ethical situations and dilemmas in cases, texts, and media. Students will learn and discuss how individual ethical judgments translates to larger issues and actions. Students will read, write, communicate, and research to explore and hone their own thinking, defend arguments, and to apply a developing understanding of historical frameworks. Now let's break down what this looks like on our game board. Ethics Land. Okay. You'll see in the upper left quadrant, we start, I guess, at our own homes, in our wintry places, emerging from winter break, and we start class up on this purple hexagon, our first space. All of these correlate to days of the class. I think I've numbered them correctly. And we start on the Research Railroad. We are learning your 4 different ethical frameworks. These are important because at the termination of the railroad, you'll see there is some time to work, and then ultimately you will produce your first major assessment. And this is the framework analysis. The practice, the things that we're doing in the first week and at least the first day of the second week, the things that we're doing are we are actually practicing on smaller and increasingly larger scales what that framework analysis looks like. Okay, you're going to have an opportunity to choose a scenario, a short story, or even a clip of a movie of your own. And what you're going to do is you're going to take us through the ethical dilemmas that are presented and provide a commentary on the different perspectives that these 4 frameworks that we're going to be looking at would take on that dilemma. This is a writing exercise. This is an analysis, and it is our first major assessment. Following the major assessment, you will discover that we approach the, I don't really have a fancy name for this, the spooky forest. You can tell that it is spooky because there are really terrifying animals inside of it. The blocks are a little bit obscured because you know what? Not even your teachers really are knowing what's going to happen during the forest time. This is week 3, all right? We're in week 3. This is a shortened week. There are 2 days of schooling only on Tuesday and Thursday. What are we exactly going to do during these weeks? You know what? It's the spooky forest. We do not know. All right. Forthcoming, we'll say. Emerging from the spooky forest as confident individuals who have developed a rapport with your pod members, you're going to be asked to perform with them. Okay? So what's going to happen? You're in groups of 4 to 6, depending on which block I have you in which group. Maybe only 5. I'm not sure if any group has 6. And together, you are going to be given 2 different cases. And your group is going to have an ethical discussion regarding those cases. Okay? You will be aligned with another member or members in this pod group. in which you'll take the lead on one case and the other people in your pod will take a lead on another case. And you collectively will have ethical discussions of the cases you've received. Generally, these cases have themes. Maybe a theme might be animal rights or views on animals, or maybe a theme could be college and athletics. There's all sorts of things. Maybe bioethics, okay? The themes are to be determined, but when you're in a group, you'll do two cases, and those two cases will have a theme. And you are going to work along with your pod members, note the pods there, and you're going to research and be prepared to ultimately, at the end, perform. There's one person on stage in this little performance in the upper right. This is the summative activity. But in reality, you are not going to be alone. You are going to be with 4 to 5 other people, 3 to 5 other people, with whom you are going to be having an ethical discussion. That is the final performance. There will be more details forthcoming on that as well, on the mode of exactly how you'll do that. But that will be the summative activity. It is not a debate. You are not trying to win anything. The idea is to collectively explore the range of ideas with respect to what is the right thing to do on your cases that you are given. All right, there we have it. This is Ethics Land. This is our project details in what ultimately turned out to be a much lengthier expression of rather just reading the details. But I hope this worked for some of you.